Okay, let's dive right in. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to unlock one of the absolute most powerful tools in the entire e-commerce universe. Because, let's be real, if you're selling anything online, you already know that building a beautiful storefront is really only half the battle. The real magic, and frankly, the biggest challenge, is getting those products discovered by people who are actually ready to pull out their credit cards and buy. So today, we are totally demystifying Google Shopping. We're going to break down exactly how this whole ecosystem works, how your products get listed, and most importantly, how you can leverage it to get your items right in front of eager buyers.
It's the ultimate question, right? The one that keeps countless online sellers up at night. You've got the products sitting there on your website, but where on earth is the traffic? You've essentially opened up this brilliant, beautiful store right in the middle of a desert. People are out there actively searching for exactly what you sell, but they just can't find you. Well, that major disconnect is exactly what Google Shopping is designed to fix.
So let's start with Section 1. What exactly is Google Shopping?
A lot of folks actually mistake Google Shopping for a massive online store, kind of like Amazon, but it's not. It is purely an online product search marketplace and a discovery platform. Google itself isn't warehousing your products in some giant fulfillment center, and they aren't processing the actual financial transaction. You really want to think of it like a giant digital mall directory. It shows shoppers what's currently available out there and then points them directly to your store to actually make the purchase. Picture this. A customer hops onto Google and types in brass dinner set. Almost instantly, they see a bunch of options lined up side by side. Seller A is offering it for 4,500 rupees. Seller B has it for 3,999, and Seller C is at 5,200. The customer gets to compare the product, the price, and the seller in a split second. But remember, the second they click on Seller A's listing, they literally leave Google and go straight over to Seller A's website to hand over their money.
Moving right along to Section 2, the role of Google Merchant Center.
Okay, so how do your products actually make their way into that directory? Here is the exact pipeline your data travels through. Step 1 is your website, where your product actually lives. Now, you don't just magically appear on Google, you have to actively send your product data to Step 2, which is the Google Merchant Center. Think of this as your back-end control room. Once Google processes the data you've sent, it pushes it right over to Step 3, the Google Shopping interface. And this is where Step 4 happens. The customer finally discovers your item, and then finally, they click through and land back at Step 5, which is your website, to make the actual purchase. It's this continuous, beautiful loop of data and traffic.
Now that we know how the pipeline works, let's talk about how to actually win the game. Section 3. Ranking. Free versus sponsored. It's absolutely crucial to understand that not all the listings you see on Google Shopping get there the exact same way. On one hand, we have organic, or free listings. These cost you absolutely nothing when someone clicks. Zero. Google places you there purely because your product is highly relevant to what the person just searched for. But on the flip side, we have sponsored listings. This is tied directly into Google Ads. You are paying for these clicks, and in return, your payment directly influences where your product is grouped or placed on the page. And you'll always notice a very distinct sponsored label on these specific products, just to keep things transparent with the shopper.
But listen, here is a massive misconception out there. You cannot simply buy your way to the top if your underlying data is garbage. Relevance is absolutely key here. If a customer is searching for a pure brass 7-piece dinner set, and your product title is exactly that, Google's algorithm is going to love you. You are highly relevant. But if another seller has the exact same amazing product, but they lazily named it something generic like kitchen product set, they are really going to struggle to show up. And that's true even if they're throwing tons of money at ads. The algorithm strictly prioritizes relevance because Google's main goal is to give the user exactly what they ask for.
Which brings us nicely to Section 4, the absolute importance of accurate product data. If relevance is king, your product data is the entire kingdom.
You submit all of this data to Google using something called a product feed. You can basically think of it as a giant, incredibly detailed spreadsheet that speaks Google's native language. Look, if you have 500 products, you obviously aren't typing these in one by one. You feed them in structurally. And to do that, you need a few essential elements: a crystal clear product title, an accurate price, your real-time availability, like are you actually in stock right now, a high-quality image, shipping information, brand details, and of course, the exact website URL where the product actually lives. This feed is literally the lifeblood of your entire Google Shopping presence.
So, what happens when things inevitably change? Let's say you decide to run a weekend sale. You drop the price on your website from 4,500 rupees down to 4,200 rupees. That's a fantastic deal for the customer, right? But wait a second. Google Merchant Center needs to know about this change, and there can very often be a slight sync delay between the exact moment you change the price on your site and when Google actually updates the shopping listing on their end.
Here is the most important thing to remember. Your Google Merchant Center data must match your website data perfectly, period. If a customer sees 4,200 rupees on Google Shopping, clicks the link, and lands on your site only to see the old 4,500 rupee price tag, that is a terrible user experience. Google absolutely hates this. If your feed is consistently inaccurate, or if you violate their policies regarding pricing and availability, Google will just remove your products from the shopping tab entirely. Do it too many times, and they will completely suspend your Merchant Center account. Data accuracy isn't just a polite suggestion. It is a strict, non-negotiable requirement.
Let's wrap this up with Section 5, the customer's actual shopping journey.
Let's look at the exact psychology of the shopper here. Step 1, they search Google for a very specific need. Step 2, and this is so vital, they view the product image. The image is almost always the very first thing that catches their eye. If your image is blurry or looks unprofessional, you've completely lost them before they've even read your title. Step 3, they check the price. And then step 4, if the image and the price look right to them, they click and boom, they are transported directly to your seller website like sdigitalindia.com, for example, to finish the job.
But do you know the journey isn't quite over yet, and sellers need to be highly aware of this next hurdle, shipping costs. Imagine the customer saw a product price of 4,500 rupees on Google. They clicked, they enthusiastically added it to their cart, but then right at checkout, a shipping charge of 700 rupees is suddenly applied, based on their destination. The final checkout price is now 5,200 rupees. It is absolutely crucial to be transparent about shipping early on, and ideally you want to include accurate shipping profiles right in your Merchant Center feed. That way, customers aren't hit with shocking hidden costs right at the finish line, which we all know leads to abandoned carts.
One quick note on reviews. Your customer might notice that the star rating on Google Shopping might not perfectly match the rating on your own website. Why is that? Well, because Google actively aggregates reviews from multiple third-party sources to create one overarching rating. Plus, it's really important to remember that Google Shopping is highly personalized. Based on a user's recent search history, Google might push certain products higher up for them specifically. So the search results that I see for a brass dinner set might actually be ordered slightly differently than the results you see.
Wow, we have covered a ton of ground today. We've seen exactly how Google Shopping acts as this ultimate digital discovery platform, literally connecting eager searchers directly to your e-commerce checkout page. We've explored the critical importance of the Merchant Center, the absolute necessity of relevant, squeaky clean product feeds, and that really fine line between organic reach and sponsored ads. This ecosystem is incredibly powerful, but it definitely requires some precision to master. So I'll leave you with this question. Now that you know exactly how the pipeline works, are you ready to organize your data, avoid those common pitfalls, and submit your very first product feed? Because trust me, the traffic is out there waiting. You just need to show up. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and happy selling.